Father God, in the name of Jesus, God, we come before you today, God. We say thank you. Thank you, O God, for this day, God, for this is a day, God, that you have made, and we shall rejoice and be glad in this day. Thank you, O God, for bringing us, God, into a new year, O God. As it seems, God, that we all are healthy in our bodies, O God, and we are here. We thank you for that. And God, as we come together tonight, O God, to do business of the city of Pahokee, we ask, God, for your guidance and your wisdom. Take us through this, O God, with peace and love, O God. And God, that we can have respect for one another. And God, I give your name the praise, the honor, and the glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Bab,
Present.
Commissioner Boland,
Here.
Commissioner Everett,
Here.
Commissioner Hill, Vice Mayor Mervin,
Here.
City Manager,
Here.
City Attorney, City Attorney,
Here. Here.
President City Clerk here. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, staff. And thank all of our listening public for tuning in and taking part of our workshop of Tuesday, January the 12th, 2021. This workshop of the City Commission of the City of Pahokee is being held to discuss the January 12th, 2021 agenda. The meeting is being streamed by YouTube since there are no public access at this time due to the COVID pandemic. At this time, I turn this portion over to our city manager, who will lead us in the discussion of our agenda items for tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, Commission, residents, thanks for joining us tonight. Happy New Year. Mayor, Commission, we have a resolution 2021-01. That's a resolution interlocal agreement with Palm Beach County for a congregate dining site facility. That's the meals that we serve to our seniors in our senior program. We're just re-upping on that agreement for this year. And we have 2021-02. That's going to be an addition. I brought that resolution with me, but that is at the pleasure of the commission when we have the conversation about the city clerk. So that'll be an addition to our agenda for tonight. And we have two old businesses to attend, city manager discussion on contract and again, the city clerk, mayor. If you have any questions about 2020-01, you certainly can have that discussion now.
Okay, just give us some background, a little history on it.
Mayor, this is the interlocal agreement with Palm Beach County for feeding our seniors in the program over here at the Congregate Center through Elders Affairs in Palm Beach County. Is a partnership that we've had for many years, and they're just coming back and giving us a new contract for the upcoming year. Now, we don't have seniors in our program right now. We're not facilitating that, but when we are given the authority to go back to servicing our seniors collectively, this agreement will be in place for feeding their lunches.
Any questions from the City Commission pertaining to Resolution 21-01? And City Manager, we're going to move to the next item that would be on our agenda. Main item anyway is the City Manager contract. Just a good opportunity for commission. This may be a little in-depth discussion during our regular commission meeting, just to get some of your questions and concerns out. I know at the last commission meeting, Commissioner Everett had asked about having a discussion about the things we wanted included in the city manager contract, or maybe deleted or modified from the city manager contract. And we can talk about that if you all pleasure, kind of give some general ideas of what your train of thought would be as far as this contract is concerned. Certainly, we're going to get into more details on our regular meeting, but this is just preliminary discussion. And I'm going to start with Commissioner Everett, if you don't mind, to see what his thoughts are on the contract and what he's looking maybe to have in there, taken out of there, added to it, or whatever his thoughts are.
I want to say good evening to everyone and Happy New Year to my colleagues and also to those who are viewing this meeting live stream. I have several items to discuss, and I know the workshop is pretty much to go over, briefly what will be transacted during the meeting. I will say that I was slightly taken aback today when I was reviewing some emails and the letter that I read from the attorney that the city manager retained in regards to this discussion. One of the concerns that I have listed is sick leave and vacation. When we had a conversation in one of our previous meetings regarding the contract, city manager's contract agreement, however you would like to term it, that was one of my concerns. Another concern that I did have is when we were presented with the contract, I know that I came aboard in 2018, and when we was presented with an agreement, it was an amendment, but not an amendment attached to the original. Other language that I felt was not in there that is needed, it was either we keep the city manager or we don't keep the city manager. But there's no provisions in the agreement for other forms of progressive discipline with regards to instead of going to immediate termination, somewhere where there is something maybe delineating suspension without pay, those kinds of things. So just a few things that I would like to highlight just briefly to get the conversation going with regards to the city manager's contract.
Okay.
And I'll speak to, I guess, at a later time, not to dominate the conversation, but I will speak to, at a later time, my being taken aback by the letter. This is just my viewpoint.
Okay.
After, just perusing and reading it.
Okay, great. And we'll move to Commissioner Bolden. Any comments concerning the city manager contract, preliminary concerns or anything along those lines?
I think I have to agree with Commissioner Everett. When I received this letter from the attorney, I'm a little confused. Haven't the city manager's contracts always been negotiated with the city attorney? And who's paying for him? Are we paying for him?
No,
Is
that's
the
his
city manager
personal-
paying for him?
That's his personal attorney just representing him on his contract negotiation.
Okay, so can I ask the attorney a question?
And
Hello? She
Yes,
there?
I'm here. Yes,
Yes,
Commissioner.
ma'am. Rather than us discuss this in public, and they're both here, I think, you must be the gentleman, right?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Yes, sir. Okay, so, shouldn't we have, what did you call it? A shade meeting where we discuss what we think should happen or what shouldn't happen, and then,
No, ma'am, there's not a provision for that in law. It's not a union issue or litigation issue or anything like that. So the way that these are generally done is, and it's uncomfortable for all managers, but this is something that is between the commission and the city manager. And so I've mentioned that quite a few times before. So the negotiating team, if you will, is you guys. You all have to decide, similar to what you were stuck, I think, before, and on issues of dealing with one particular item in the last time you were going through the contract, and then the issue just wasn't brought up again. But it's you all who really deal with it. It's not through a third party or anything like that. It's the city commission, dealing with the manager on its most important contract. And so that's something you need to do, and you have to do it in public, unfortunately.
If I can recall, in 2017 on my last contract, even in 2015 when I was first hired, the city attorney, we got together and we talked about the items. And then he formulated an agreement, and he brought that to the commission for their review and discussion. That happened in 2015, and it happened in 2017. So it was public, but before it went public, it was the city attorney asked what he negotiated what I wanted. Didn't mean I was going to get it, but it was discussed between him and I offline, and then it came before the commission for a fluid discussion. That's how I recall.
If I can come in.
And Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Go ahead, City Attorney.
Yes, so based on the documentation that the manager provided to me in the past, it looks like initially when he came, there was, I don't know if it was a headhunter, I'm not quite sure, but he was working with someone initially, and then the commission then made a decision at a meeting, and there were minutes in 2015, and there was a detailed discussion on the record. And then subsequently, I guess the contract was executed. But in the last one, obviously I can't speak to 2017, but certainly what needs to happen, I can tell you, I don't know what happened in the past, but what needs to happen is it needs to be a conversation similar to what you all did before, where you went through the items and you got stuck on one item, and you may recall the manager just said he'd rather not have a raise, and he left the conversation alone. But that's the way that you should do your negotiations through it has to be in public. It's not anything I can go and work in some dark room and come back and do something magical. It's you all that makes this decision. I'm not making any recommendations. Now, one thing I did do, and the manager asked me to do, was I put in a previous document some of the things that he said that he wanted, and I made it just a clean document, cleaning up the very last one and making it to date. This was last year sometime right before your discussion. I did do that. So I cleaned up the document substantially and made it comply with the law, and then I think that was distributed to each of you. But in terms of just me working with anybody to work with, that's not something that's typically done. I think you all need to, go back to whatever that process is, wherever you got stuck, and then it has to be done in the public. There's nothing else that I can do outside of what I've already done.
I will say this, in the past, the city attorneys have been involved in the contract, not so much as a representative of the city manager, but just to make sure that as much as possible that the city interest was protected, and that the contract was favorable to both parties as much as possible. In light of the city manager seeking legal counsel, I think it would be only advisable, at least from the mayor point of view, that we also have legal representative at that negotiation as far as the contract, certainly to be done in a public setting, but the initial foundation of the contract can be talked and discussed among attorney or legal representative. No matter what comes out of that particular meeting, it's still ultimately the responsibility of the city commission whether or not they want to enter into that contract or then, on top of it, modify it somewhat. So I wouldn't want to go into a negotiation with the city manager and legal representative, and we don't have that, whether it's you, city attorney, or we go out and hire someone just for that particular negotiation.
But why would you go out?
I'm just using that as an example. I'm
Yeah,
not saying
yeah, I
it's
know,
the
but
right
I'm
way.
just saying, I think some things is a given. She's our attorney. And with him bringing, with the city manager bringing legal, we already have legal in place to deal with lawyer to lawyer. So I'm thinking that's a given. But there was some language in the letter that I had some issues with, but I thought that was a given.
We're gonna let you chime in, city attorney. You have the floor now.
Okay, I apologize. I just wanted to real quickly say that I have done that, Mr. Mayor. I've actually gone through the document. I took what the manager said. I took some of the things you all said you in one meeting you wanted to see. I merged them all together, and I spent quite a bit of time doing it. And that document got stuck on the benefits issues, and that's when everything went, to pieces. So that document has already been provided to you all. I'm happy to provide it again, and I can provide it to his legal counsel. But in terms of negotiating the document back and forth, Mr. Williamson has already said he agrees to the document, but there was a benefits provision where that was, you all had some discussion about changing that, and that's when it fell apart. And you can kind of look at the meeting and see, yourself or whatever, But in terms of a document, we have a working document that can be that Mr. Williamson can give to his attorney, and then he can come back to you all, and maybe you all can hash out that benefits provision. And there was something about vacation and the sick time, and the mayor, you may recall, you knew what the policy was with the county, and mentioned that maybe that should be the case or something like that, and then the conversation just sort of went south from there. But I've already pulled together a working document that you can use. I did that like a year ago.
That's true. December 2019.
Yeah, but the conversation just never came up again.
Okay. We're going to further the discussion by line. Vice Mayor Mervin is kind of give her comments as far as what she feels need to be in there, what don't need to be in there, whether it need to be modified or stay the same. Just kind of get a feel of where she's coming from.
Well, Mayor, I don't want to sound redundant, but I'm in agreement with the commissioners and the mayor. I know I came on board in 2016. And I know in 2017 is when they amended the contract, and I know the former attorney, not to keep saying the same thing, came to the commission with the documents. We went over the documents, and whatever changes that we made, then he went back and made those changes, and that became the 2017 contract. But my other question is, the only thing I would like to see, is there should be an end date in the contract. There's a start date or end date in the contract, and that's and also with the letter, I respect the attorney, but like I said, we have an attorney, that on file, on staff that we negotiate city manager's contract through. So we'll see where it goes tonight.
Okay. I'll just briefly give my observation and my points of view. What I wanted to see in the contract. Initially, we tried to go line by line of things that we disagreed with or agreed with. If we agreed with it, the majority agreed with it, it would remain in the contract. If we disagreed with it and the majority disagreed with it, it would be taken out or modified. The city manager at that point can agree with that contract or disagree with it. It's just up to him, but we was going to go through it in that process.
But not to cut you off, but may I ask, first of all, who are we making who we talking this with our city attorney? Or are we gonna be talking this with the legal counsel? Who are we making?
Oh, I guess we're doing it with
You know,
both
so we
now
have to first
because
do
he
that,
has
correct?
legal representative, the city attorney, his attorney would certainly be involved, but mainly it'll be the negotiation between ourselves and the city manager. But if that city attorney give him some advice and saying, no, we're not gonna accept that, or we don't wanna deal with that, or we wanna do it this way, he has that right to at least interject himself as a representative of the city manager. But I was just kind of giving an overview of what we were doing in the past. Now that we do have an attorney involved, that's a different scenario to me. That's why I feel that even if we do it on our own, I believe our attorney or some other form of legal representative representing this city need to be there. And Mayor Everett have kind of strongly suggested if we have an attorney on board, that should be the person, because we're gonna have to pay additional monies to have at least legal advice or legal representation there.
I think, Mr. Mayor, if I may, I think we're dancing around, we've talked about this a while, and I had to do some digging. We've talked about this since December 2019, as far as I can recall. We've talked. The city attorney presented a contract when the request for a salary increase was not agreed upon at the rate the city manager wanted. And when conversations were discussed with regards to the amount of time the city manager would accrue, there were some issues and concerns that I've mentioned and brought up. The conversation abruptly ended. City manager said, I'll keep my contract as is. And we went on about the order of the day. Now, we share some of the onus in this, because we should have went beyond just talking, went beyond the conversation of dollars and cents and discussed the contract along with evaluations. And when the meeting takes place, I'll get to some of those concerns that was that this letter addressed. But I don't think we should shoulder all of the responsibility. But I do think that some of the onus do rest with us. But we had a template that we was working from. The city attorney did what she was directed to do. But we failed in continuing conversations regarding the contract. That last conversation, it ended and we went on about our way. That's what happened.
Mayor, I know we are close to out of time. I don't know if Mr. DeGraffenreich Wright wanted to have a brief moment, or we want to wait until the subject comes up in the meeting. Yeah, it's up to the mayor and commission if you want to give
Yeah,
them a minute.
actually, our workshop time has expired, so we're gonna move into our regular commission meeting, so we'll take that up when
Yes,
it's
sir.
come up. Okay. So at this time, I will adjourn our workshop, and we'll reconvene for our regular city commission meeting in 2 minutes. ahead and reconvene for our regular commission meeting.
I think December 2019. I think it was.
I call this City Commission of the City of Pahokee, regular commission meeting of Tuesday, January the 12th, 2021, to order at 6:32 p.m. May we please stand for the invocation provided by Commissioner Everett, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Shall we pray? Father in heaven, we come before your presence with thanksgiving in our hearts. We're grateful for this gift called life. And Father, as we come to transact the business of our city, we pray that you would give us wisdom, give us the courage to do what is right. And even in these uncertain and unprecedented times, give us the fortitude to continue the work that lies ahead of us. And we ask it all in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Bab,
Present.
Commissioner Bolden,
Here.
Commissioner Everett,
Present.
Commissioner Hill, Vice Mayor Mervin,
Here.
City Manager,
Present.
City Attorney,
Here.
Interim City Clerk here.
Mayor, for the record, I had a message from Commissioner Hill. She was sick and she's indicated she was being quarantined.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, staff, and thank each of our listening audience for being with us tonight via social media, participating in our commission meeting of Tuesday, January the 12th, 2021. At this time, we would follow our agenda as presented. The first order on the agenda is the additions, deletions, and approval of the agenda item. City Manager, at this time, do we have any additions to the agenda that was presented?
Yes, Mayor. This coincides with the old business, the city clerk, resolution 2021-02. That would be at the pleasure of the commission if there's any actions executed tonight on that discussion. That concludes additions and deletions, Mayor.
Okay. Commissioners, having heard the addition to the agenda, if it so present itself, and no additions, no deletions, other than what was just mentioned, Resolution 2021-02, if we decide to move forward with the city clerk hiring. I'll entertain a motion at this time for the acceptance of the agenda as presented.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer a motion that we accept the agenda with its necessary amendments.
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Everett and properly seconded by Vice Mayor Mervin for the adoption of the agenda as presented with the addition of a possible resolution 2021-02. Call for questions.
I have one.
Commissioner Bolden.
Are we allowed to add resolutions? I thought that ordinance that we passed that said that they had to be put, everything has to be put on the next agenda so that the public has time to see it before we actually do it.
City Attorney. City Attorney.
Ms. Waits? I think you lost me.
And while the city manager is getting her on the phone, even if we're not able to at this time pass that particular resolution, I don't think it would pollute us from deciding tonight, if that's our choice, whether or not we want to go forward with the hiring. The resolution can come. We're going to get the city attorney input on that. Could come at the
Can you
next
hear me?
meeting.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yes, city attorney.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yes, I heard everything. Commissioner Boland, that's not exactly what it says. What the point of that change for the rules of procedure had to do with you all bringing forth future agenda items when you do have, as individual commissioners, have an item, and then you would state it as a future agenda item, and then you would have it at the next commission meeting, so that there wouldn't be, things that come up where you'll be voting on it that night and the public wouldn't have notice. This is not the same kind of thing. The manager has the option always, and so do I, under your rules of procedure, to put things that are going to further the interest of the city business. So this is not that kind of an issue. This is fine.
Okay.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, are you ready for a vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Boland,
No.
Commissioner Hill, Mayor Bowden.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. The motion passed by a majority, 3-1 vote. Now we'll move to our citizen comments, public service announcement. All items on the agenda must be 3 minutes. City Clerk, at this time, do we have any public comments cards?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. The first one is from Annie Core.
Mayor, just before she starts, we did discuss that, the option to call in, and we did announce that we do have a city cell phone here tonight. If your contact was provided, but I think this one was requested to be read, if I'm correct? Okay,
Any caller?
all right. I want to make sure that we do have a cell phone where we can call if people provide their number where they can actually speak directly to us.
Right.
Okay?
Dear City Clerk, I am hereby requesting under the laws of the state of Florida that I be contacted by phone on Zoom or other system being used to conduct the city meeting to be held tonight, so that I may address the commission and staff with comment and question. My contact information is as follows. If I cannot be contacted by phone, as other parties have been, I request the invitation code to the meeting. So Ms. Annie Core has provided her phone.
Works.
Ms. Core? Okay. The next comment is from Mr. Joe Walker Wright. He would like to be called for the commissioner meeting tonight in reference to 701 Johnson Court. And this note doesn't have his phone number or contact number. So I was trying to get the contact from my colleague, but
He actually reached out to me. I should have that. Clerk, try this number here. 570-974.
To mark urgent, press 1.
5
Confidential.
4 6 7.
I'm sorry. What is the number again,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
570-974-5467.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
You are live on City Commission, and you are on speaker. So please, you have 3 minutes to provide your comments, sir.
Well, 3 minutes is a long time, so I just thank you all for giving me 3 minutes to express my concerns. And so, yes, I was taught in college and elsewhere to preach a whole sermon in 3 minutes, so I won't be long. My concern is that our magistrate government not part of the city. City government, in my opinion, was much clearer, supportive of the people than the magistrate government. And I know that the commissioners have to deal with that. He's not part of the city. Got a problem. I have a problem with our commissioners allowing it to happen. I think that we need to put more time in checking with our city workers, our leader. We need to spend more time with that and checking on people because I don't feel comfortable with persons that are biased in the government. I'm not talking to get anybody fired. That's up to the commissioners. But that's not my perspective. What are we doing to help the elderly people? What are we doing to help the people that are breaking the law? I'm biased. I've seen bias. And what that means is favor. We have favoritism. We're going against one that seems to have problems, and we're not going against the others. The air conditioners, for instance. Pageant Island still have air conditioners. But we were in charge with having air conditioners that are leaking water on the sidewalks. This is bias. Okay? I'm not talking to get anybody fired because that's not, I'm a pastor. I've been a bishop for 40 years. A pastor for over 40 years. I'm over $1 million program in Pennsylvania as I speak. I'm not biased. In fact, 2 programs.
Pastor Wright,
Now,
to be consistent, we're gonna have to end
my
that.
time up?
Yes, sir.
Your 3 minutes are up.
If my time is up, then I'm done.
Okay.
I'll get back with you.
Okay, we appreciate those.
I know the right letters. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate those comments. Thank you.
Please excuse me. I have another comment.
Okay.
The next comment is from Catherine Mervis. Since the new city manager and the new city clerk will be reporting independently and directly to the new commission, I request that the discussion and vote on both contracts by table until March and the new commissioner. Catherine Mervis, resident at 1838 East Main Street, Pahokee, Florida. And that is the last comment that I received.
Thank you, City Clerk, and thank the public for those comments they provided. Now we'll move to our next agenda item.
Excuse me. Are you going to read the first one, or because she didn't answer the phone, you don't have it?
I did say her comment that she wanted to be called.
Oh, that was it? There was no?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right, I'm sorry.
Please
Okay.
excuse me, yes.
Okay, I thought there was more in that. Okay, no problem.
Okay, our
Sorry.
next agenda item is the approval of minutes, and we don't have any minutes to approve at this time. We don't have any consent agenda items. We don't have any ordinances. We do have one resolution with a possible second. First resolution is Resolution 2021-01. City manager.
resolution-
I'm gonna say city attorney.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pahokee, Florida, authorizing the city manager to execute the attached facility use agreement between the City of Pahokee and Palm Beach County to operate a congregate during dining site for elderly persons at the Pahokee Wellness Center, providing for an effective date.
Thank you, city attorney. City manager, could you give us a brief explanation of resolution?
Yes, Mayor, this is our annual interlocal agreement with Palm Beach County to provide meals to our senior population here in the senior program at Parks and Recreation. We are entitled to provide them space for congregate meals for elderly seniors in our community. Of course, our program is not active right now because of COVID, but the interlocal agreement needs to move forward when that time comes when we can entertain our congregate elderly in our facilities again.
Thank you, city manager. City commissioners, having had resolution 2021-01 properly read into the minutes by our city attorney and properly explained by our city manager, what is your pleasure?
Hereby, I'd like to make a motion that we will accept resolution 2021-01 as read by the city attorney.
Excuse me, second.
It has been moved by Vice Mayor Mervin and properly seconded by Commissioner Bolden for the passage of resolution 2021-01. Call for questions.
I have a couple.
Commissioner Bolden.
Yes, sir. Mr. Manager, how many days a week do we have meals?
When the seniors are here, it's 5 days a week,
5
but
days.
our program doesn't run 5 days a week, but it's 5 days a week that we should offer the program, the meal site. So it's available 5 days a week.
Okay, and then in here it says, all client meal reservations, including phone reservations and walk-ins, will be handled by the city. So how do elderly get on this meal program?
Typically, this meal program is for our senior program, senior wellness program. But if a
Okay.
senior walks in and wants a meal, we take their name, we document that, and add it to the list that we have to turn in to the county on a weekly basis. And so there's really no reservation. You can literally walk in to the senior program and get a meal.
Okay. And then it says they have to have a minimum of 15. Is there a maximum?
We average, our senior program participants is about 20 to 25.
Okay, that's what I thought, there was more than that. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions? Hearing none, are you ready for a vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowen,
Yes.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill, Mayor Bab.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. Motion passed by unanimous decision. We don't have any proclamations, no presentations, and we'll move into the mayor's report. I would just like to wish everyone a happy new year. This is our first meeting of 2021. To say the least, 2020 was a challenging year with the COVID pandemic, racial tension, decline of our economy, and the call for social justice. Although this year was difficult, the city still was open and we conducted business. We know there was a lot of residents that was affected by COVID. We had over 600 residents that was confirmed to have contracted the virus. We had approximately, to date, 28 deaths in Pahokee. I know there's a lot of funerals here and there. We don't know the cause, but COVID is a ailment or a disease. When someone dies, it is reported. So I'm not sure if we're aware of the number, but it's currently set at approximately 28 deaths. I'll take that back, 24 in Pahokee. Belglade has 35, Canal Point 2, Cluison 2, and South Bay 17. So it's been challenging, but we have been able to remain open, provide vital services to our community. I know people are wondering when we're going to be completely open. No one has that answer. It's a vaccine rollout, but it will probably be some time before the entire general public is able to be vaccinated. I'll just, as mayor, just encourage all of our citizens, whether you're seniors or not, when the opportunity to get vaccinated, that you take that opportunity to do that. Not only are you protecting yourself, but you're protecting the community as well. Recently, there was a rollout of a limited doses of vaccine for the Glades area. We were notified at the last minute. However, we did get the information out as much as possible, and approximately 200 of Glades residents got vaccine during that particular time. So we're thankful for that. It's a vaccine that requires a second dosage, so those individuals will be receiving their second shot in approximately 10 to 15 days from now. So we are excited about that. I've received calls about when will we open our meetings to the public. Again, once this virus is under control, once the rate has gone to a significant number, we will certainly open it up to the public again, but our first and primary responsibility is to make sure our public and our staff and ourselves are safe, and that's the bottom line. Again, we are expecting, and I know the city manager will probably provide this in this report, a grand reopening of our gymnasium, which have been closed for a decade or more. We're very excited about that. We're very thankful for the county assistance in renovating that gym so the public will be able to use it. Initially, it will be mainly utilized by our Parks and Recreation Department, but one of the criteria that the county gave us when they decided and and agreed to renovate it is that we have an opportunity to have the public utilize that as much as possible. So some of the things like possibly being able to rent it out or different activities, that's our goal, and that's what we'll be looking forward to doing in the very near future. We have our public park at the marina open. I think most of y'all probably have ridden over at the park. It's being utilized by our community. We got some nice provisions out there that's providing some amenities for our residents. I did have one two comments concerning that public park area. One was that the restroom doesn't always be open for the public. Maybe it was a day or two it was closed, I'm not sure. I did go out there myself, and that particular day it wasn't open. And the second concern was the gates at the top of the dike still remain gated, and they just need a answer why is that the case, because what's happening, cars are running around it and they're destroying the grass and other things, although it's wintertime and it's brown anyway. But we'll get with the city manager, and maybe even in this report, he can give an explanation of why the top portion of the dike area on the public side is not open. And I just want to encourage staff and as far as the code enforcement, particularly on our main throughway into the city. Bacon Point Road is one of those areas. There's a lot of trash and debris being put out days before pickup. Our pickup on Bacon Point Road in reference is Thursday, so that means that the public shouldn't be able to put their trash or buck pickup out until at least Wednesday evening or Thursday morning, and we're getting trash out sometime on a Sunday, sometime the day after the truck has picked it up on a Friday. So I just want to encourage us that code enforcement, we're going to have to issue out warnings or even citation if that continue. Martin Luther King celebration is coming up Monday. It's going to be done virtually, similar to the Veteran Day celebration. So we're really looking forward to that, and I encourage our residents to look out for the announcement on our social media page of when that event would occur. It will occur Monday in the morning. I don't have the specific time at this point, but it will be posted so you can enjoy that program. I think the staff did a great job on Veteran Day, and Martin Luther King celebration would not be any different from that particular celebration. And that would conclude the mayor report at this time. Now we'll move to the city manager report.
Thank you, Mayor, Commission, public, residents. Thanks for joining us tonight. Mayor, I appreciate those words supporting the staff. You're correct. It's been a difficult past year that we had to endure. Our year ended for staff on a somber note. It started on a somber note. We, at least in City Hall itself, I had staff, we lost 3 fathers in a span of 4 weeks, from December, I think, 11th until last night. Ms. Adams lost her father last night. So we've had 3 staff that have lost their fathers in a span of just a month here in the city of Pahokee, and that doesn't include the three staff that had COVID. It's been difficult. Ms. Adams, I send my condolences to her and her family. If you can recall, Ms. Adams, took a leave and left the city to take care of both her parents. in 2018, and subsequently her mom passed 6 months later after that in 2019. And then her father passed last night, and she was dealing with an ailment herself as she took care of them at that time. So it's been real difficult in City Hall right now. I can honestly tell you that's been real difficult. But we're soldiering on, and we're staying focused on the task at hand. But I just wanted to stop and recognize those, Ms. Adams, for losing her father last night. The others too was Ms. Brinkley and Ms. Ramsey a couple of weeks ago. But
Okay.
difficult, but we're moving forward.
Before you proceed on that, if you would, please send a card on behalf of the City Commission expressing our condolences to those families, especially because they're staff. I think that's very important that they know that we are and provide sympathy for them.
On a lighter note, Mayor, we did end the year. We had a good 2020 as far as projects and some funding and partnerships with the county. I read that end of the year report at the last meeting. I do have a hard copy. I'll give you a hard copy again so you can take it with you. I know I rattled through some things fairly quickly. The gym, we are preparing for a grand opening. It won't be February 1st. I think it's going to be February the 9th. That gives us 4 weeks. February 9th, which is a Tuesday, at 10 a.m. for the grand opening and ribbon cutting, February 9th. Once that gym is open, it will be utilized for parks and recreational programs that we have lost over the years. We will also utilize it for public usage, adult league basketball when that time of the season comes, aerobics, morning and afternoons for those who want to get in some instructional exercise. We'll have someone coming in to do that, as well as all these other activities that we can now interject into the community because we have our facility back. Will be put onto the schedule for this community. So we're excited about that. There are a couple of things that we're doing in the gym as far as equipment, getting all the equipment ordered and delivered. The county had to bring their contractors back to do some touch-ups on a couple of things. We had a leak on the roof, and they had to go back and repair that, and they have. We were waiting on the bleachers. That's been completed. New scoreboard has been installed. And so now we're doing some cleanup around the area as staff ourselves in preparation for the grand opening here in a couple of weeks. We will be sending out invitations for that to county officials, local officials, and all those who were involved in this endeavor to getting the gymnasium back open. And then once we get past that, we want to start researching how we're going to finish the basement level of the gymnasium, which has the weight room, the locker room, the showers, and a couple of classrooms and offices. We have to go back and start researching how we're going to address that. But for now, we do have the gymnasium portion of the facility reopening back up. We'll also be rededicating it by renaming it Eddie Lee Rose Gymnasium. So we're working with a signage company to have that installed as well. We don't know if that'll be ready by February 9th, but we're trying to shoot for that date as well. But he'll be in attendance at that ribbon cutting as well. As far as the parks is concerned, we are adding to our staff in Parks and Recreation a park ranger that will be attending to the parks. We didn't have a dedicated person that could do that, who could lock the gates at night, open the gates in the morning, ensure the restrooms are open, ensure the restrooms are closed, and keep an eye on all of our parks, specifically the marina area as well. So we'll be hiring that person here in the next several days, and so we'll ensure that the restrooms are open and closed when they should be, and it's not a guessing that the residents have to do. But they will see a park ranger on site and visible, and that'll help with our security during the day to ensure that parking is being adhered to and there's, everyone is following the rules and enjoying themselves, which is what we want them to do in the park. As far as Barfield Highway, that bid is on the street. It is due back into the city, I think, the 14th. And then from there, the committee will evaluate, make a recommendation for a contract with a vendor. We project probably a late February start for Barfield Highway. I can't tell you I'm more excited about that than how it sounds, but I'm very excited about Barfield Highway because we've spoken about that for quite some time. So hopefully sometime here in the coming weeks, we'll make a decision on the winning contractor, and then there'll be a community meeting with the folks in that area to advise them how construction will be performed and the traffic patterns, et cetera, and explain to them what to expect in this construction adjacent to their personal property. And then we'll get
How are
started.
you planning on doing that?
Typically, FDOT provides us a public forum where the residents in that area can come and listen to what the project will be. This will most likely be a Zoom public forum. They've already discussed it being a Zoom public forum, and they'll give us the date and time sufficiently, and then we'll post it. We'll also send notices out to the residents on Barfield Highway indicating the date and time and how they can log on to the Zoom.
Okay, that was my suggestion. I thought it was gonna be kind of limited just to those area residents. There, it's totally used by the community, so it
Right.
need to be open and shared.
Right.
with-
It'll be advertised publicly as well, but those residents will specifically get a letter as well. Right. East Lake Village, I'm hoping that the engineer will wrap up the scope of work so we can get that bid on the street sometime in February, and we can get that project moving here before end of March, hopefully. It depends on how fast he finishes up the scope of work, but I think he's about finished. I know there's a lot of questions about East Lake Village. It is the last project that received funding a couple of years ago. We need to go ahead and get that project out off the shelf and implement it and complete it. So I'm hoping that the engineers will wrap up their work so we can put a bid out here before mid-February, and then a start date sometime in March thereafter, sometime in March. As far as the legislative agenda, we're going to be looking at 2 legislative items this year. We're going to go back and request funding for improvements for MLK Park, and we're going to ask for a stormwater improvement on Barack Obama Boulevard, 1st Street, and that is our 2 legislative items. I would like to take 5 to Tallahassee, but I've been indicated by our lobbyists and Tallahassee, just in general, the conversation, there's limited money this year because of redirecting money to other areas. So we had to limit our requests, as all other municipalities are doing. They're trying to figure out what is the priorities and what they feel they can get funded and passed and then not vetoed by the governor in the end. And so we did get MLK Park funded last year, but all park funding across the board was vetoed last year because of COVID by the governor. So we're hoping by summer, when he makes that decision, that COVID is much better and we're not putting as much money into COVID from the state level. At the time, I think when he made that decision, they had not released the CARES Act money to counties and cities across the nation. So a lot of counties and cities were scrambling along with the state to figure out how they were going to handle the COVID insurgent. And that's why it was vetoed, I think, at that time, because they were pouring so much money from the state level into COVID until the CARES Act was approved. This year, it may be the same. We just don't know what's going to happen with COVID. We know we got additional money from the federal government. You have a new administration coming in Washington. They may allocate more money to COVID, to states, to counties and large and small cities. You just don't know what will happen. But we have to do our due diligence with our legislative requests and try to focus on what we think can get passed. And we feel that these 2 items, because one was already approved from the previous legislative session, that these are the most successful items that we can present for legislative funding requests for 2020-2021.
So, man, if I could ask just a quick question there. Martin Luther King Park, our IX is $250,000. I'm not sure exactly what all that's going to entail, but my question is whether or not it include the walk path there? And if it does it include a additional like health path? And it could be the same path, but what does a health walk path does, they have about 3 to 5 stop stations where they do a little exercise or do some type of cardiovascular, they do something there. So if the funding of the 250 don't sufficiently cover that, I'm just wondering, could we ask for an additional, just estimating, another 10 or 15,000 if you don't have that already in the plans to complete that?
Well, remember, we have our sales tax, and our park improvement, MK, is under that sales tax, so I was already looking at adding about $15,000 to $20,000 to whatever is funded by the state for that specific type of walking path.
Right.
But that is included.
Is that gonna be like that soft asphalt though? At
I'm
least
not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure. We haven't gone out. We haven't
Right
received any
now,
money
you
yet,
can't
so
see
we
the
haven't really-
path, that's all I'm
Right.
saying.
Yeah, that'll be removed. That'll be completely
Okay.
renovated, dug up, and replaced. So it'll be a new walking path. But I'm not sure what type. I don't know if it's going to be asphalt or concrete
Right.
or that soft rubber that you see on most walking paths. I'm not sure. It just depends on how much money we are able to get, and based on what type of scope of work we can come up with, that we can afford everything that we want to do. So, but it is part of the plan if we get the funding. It is part of the plan. Yes, sir.
With the surtax dollars, I'm glad that you mentioned it. I thought that was a part of the plan, as well as the project with regards to the football field.
Mm-hmm. That's part of, it's under Parks and Recreational upkeep. Yeah,
Okay.
it's part of that. Yeah.
So just worst case scenario that, and I'm not wishing against the request, but worst case scenario, funding is not given to us from the state, because it was a part of the surtax plan. Whatever plans we have for that park, could it still be funded?
Some of it, we'll have to kind of pick and choose what we can do first and what we can do second, because we're doing some sidewalks coming up here recently. So, yeah, we'll pick and choose what we can get done if none of that
Okay.
money is fully funded by the state. We just have to start doing things one piece at a time in the park. Correct.
Okay.
And if I could ask, are we going to put grills in by the pavilions on the
Yeah.
north end? I had 20 people
We didn't
ask.
want to do that because of what happened over at Commissioners Park, with so much of the debris and trash that would build up. It was a thought. We still can go back and look at that, but we took them out of Commissioners Park because we had a major issue with them over there. But we can look at it again. I was
As
kind of
far as
hesitant to do it.
Trash or?
It was a combination of trash. You have people going out there after hours cooking on the grills, leaving more trash. It became more of a challenge to keep it clean than to just pull them out. We can always take a look at it because those are new pavilions. They're larger pavilions and they are designed for group, activities. I was hesitant to do it. It's not like we can. I was just hesitant.
Okay, and what about, I think the mayor asked you, what about opening up the gate on the top?
We're taking that down. We were wanting to put up a secondary gate, so when the park's closed at 8 o'clock, we can stop all traffic. We haven't been able to, we haven't gone to install that yet, but it can certainly come down, especially now that we're adding a ranger to monitor the closing in the evening time, so we'll probably move it within the next 48 hours.
Because I know I was up there on New Year's, and there's not enough room for 2 cars to pass down there on that road. So maybe if we went in one way and came out another, or made it one way so it goes in and out,
We could do
instead
that.
of 2
Yeah,
cars trying to pass.
We could put the signage up for that, yes.
Otherwise, we're going
Yeah.
to just tear up the grass because everybody was pulling into the grass to get the other car past.
Well, the fence will be gone within the next 48 hours.
Okay.
And so we won't have to worry about that, but we can put up some one-way sign. Actually, one-way signage is installed there on both ends. It's whether people obey it is the issue. But the one-way sign is,
I didn't
it's not at the
notice
top of the hill, it's at the bottom. And then if you go all the way down to the end, there's another one-way sign as well, but most people just ignore it.
You talking about on that public side?
Yes,
If-
Yeah.
there are one-way
Let's-
signs there.
Let's talk about that though. If the top lock now, a gate off, which we're gonna correct, but if you got a one-way sign to the bottom, how do they get out?
Yeah.
Without going
From the
back
other
the same
end, there's
way?
a-
Well, when you drive in from the bottom and you get all the way to the end, you have this big roundabout and another gravel
Then they're
parking
gonna have to
lot.
come back
Yeah,
the
but you're
same
gonna come back a
way.
one-way.
Right,
No, down on the other end, there's a one-way down. When you pass the new bathroom, there's a sign to come up.
Yeah, but if he's saying the gate's gonna get locked at night,
no, there's no gate at the top. Well, I see
That's
what.
if you take the gate
Yeah,
down, but you
Okay.
can go down and come up.
The gate won't lock until the park ranger goes through and lets everyone know that the gate's gonna lock at a certain time. They're not gonna lock it. If you're still parked on that end, you'll get a notice from the park ranger, say, hey, it's 7:55, I'm gonna lock the gate. They're not gonna lock anyone in. Yeah, they won't do that. That's, part of their job will be to ensure that all cars exit before they lock at night. That's all the parks that have a gate, which is only 2 right now, and that's Commissioner's Park and Marina Park.
okay.
Yeah. But again, the gate will be removed in about 48 hours. Mayor, that concludes my city manager's report.
Thank you, City Manager. City Attorney, any reports?
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, Happy New Year to everybody. I do have, Mr. Mayor, an announcement to make regarding an executive closed-door session that I'd like to have. I have spoken with the city manager, and if it's okay, Mr. Mayor, I'll make the announcement at this time.
Okay, great.
At approximately 6:00 p.m. on Tuesday, January 26, 2020, or soon thereafter, as may be heard by the City Commission, shall meet privately to discuss pending litigation pursuant to Section 286.0118 Florida statutes for the following case: Okeechobee Land Use Company, Inc. versus City of Pahokee, Florida, case number 50-2018-CA-10776 MBAF. Present at the compliant attorney session will be Commissioner Boland, Commissioner Everett, Commissioner Hill, Vice Mayor Mervin, Mayor Babb, City Manager Chandler Williamson, and City Attorney Bernadette Norris Weeks, Assistant City Attorney Michelle Austin Tammies, and Assistant City Attorney Candace Cobb, and on the record court reporters. This meeting will be a meeting before the commission, and a part of it will be virtual to include the Assistant City Attorneys. The estimated length of the client attorney session will be 45 minutes, and it may be shorter, but that's the estimated length. So that concludes the announcement, and then I have 2 other things just to put on record. We do have, we've been working diligently throughout even COVID to make sure that we are pursuing the foreclosure issues and getting money back in those cases where we can. A check recently came in. Mr. Williamson will be sending it out to you of a little bit over $1,300. And a few months ago, we were able to get for the city back $6,235. And so we're continuing to pursue those issues and obtain money in the cases where we can. And then finally, I know that we have the discussion coming up under old business regarding the manager's contract. And I would just want to be clear, just so that, because I don't think I was earlier, I am not refusing to negotiate with anyone, but what I was trying to communicate earlier, and I'm sure we'll talk about it in a moment, with respect to the changes that need to be made, I am ready and prepared to make any changes. Nothing has changed regarding the letter that came to you. You all still have an obligation to discuss it. You don't have to do it in private or in secret or anything like that. You have a contract that has been given to each of you that the city manager has already approved of. So the only thing you need to do at this point is discuss that contract that you got stuck on, last year. So that's it. It's nothing. I wasn't making a declaration that I'm not going to do, to talk or even talk to the attorney if he calls me. I'm happy to speak with him, but it is in your hands. Is what I was trying to communicate earlier. And with that, thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, and I will stay on the line and wait for the discussion.
Okay, City Attorney, I may have missed it. I know you say Tuesday. Did you give a date, though? Is it this Tuesday coming up?
26.
26? Okay,
What time?
6 o'clock.
The next commission meeting, it will be Tuesday, January the 26th.
Right, okay.
So two weeks from now.
At 6, correct?
Yes.
At 6 o'clock, yes, sir.
Okay, as far as our workshop, that means we don't really necessarily have to have a workshop because I guess the regular commission meeting will start after our private meeting. I hate to say private, but
correct.
session, closed
That's
session.
correct.
Okay,
That is going to take the place of your workshop. We'll try to make sure that we finish within the 30 minutes. I wanted to make sure that I, did give it adequate time just in case we didn't.
okay. Thank you, City Attorney.
Thank you.
Now we'll move to old business. First thing on our old business is the city manager contract. This was just briefly discussed in our workshop. We need to have a little in-depth discussion here to see what's the desire of the commission, how we want to proceed with this, and how we're going to move forward with this particular contract.
Mayor Babbitt, I may ask, since we have two on there, if we're gonna do the city clerk, can we do that one first, since probably the contract might take a little longer, or just
I didn't hear what you said.
the city clerk?
wanted
No, we
to-
have two on there, the city manager contract might take a little longer than the city clerk. Can we do the city clerk business part first, and then do if we're gonna entertain a resolution for city clerk, and then do the city manager's contract? Or if not, you can.
City Attorney,
Yes, sir.
we're requesting, Vice Mayor requesting just a reversal of our agenda. The city manager contract is listed first and the city clerk is second. She's wondering whether it'd be a problem for us. I know it'd have to be done by a motion to just reverse the order of the discussion of those two items.
I think making a motion for the reversal would be appropriate.
I'd like to make a motion that we will reverse the order of old business from the city clerk number 1 and the city manager contract as number 2.
Can I get a second, if that's the desire? Like of a second, we'll just move with the order is presented in.
That's right.
Okay, we're going to discuss now the city manager contract, how we're going to proceed with this particular item. And we're just going to take off where we basically almost left off during the discussion. I'll just say this. We need to get this done. We have a decision to make dealing with the city manager contract. And as I look at it, it boils down to having the contract remain the same, which I don't think that's the desire, at least the feedback that I'm recalling, to have the contract remain the same, to go ahead and proceed to make those adjustments with the contract, take the contract line by line and determine what we want to add, what we want to delete. And the city manager would have some input, but it's our decision of how that contract should look finally before we approve it. And he have to decide whether or not he can live with it or not and accept it or not. And I think this last one, I believe I mentioned just continue to work under the current contract. I think I mentioned that first. So that's where we are, and also the thought of whether or not we feel we need to include our legal representative during the discussion, during the negotiating part of that part of it. So I'm going to go back to Commissioner Everett, and
Mayor, would
Yes.
it be appropriate to allow Mr. Grafenreich to speak? That's where we left off at.
okay, he's here. We'll be able to allow him if you would like, attorney, you can come up and just give a brief presentation of your stance on the contract and how you feel we can best proceed with it just as a
Mr. Mayor, before
recommendation.
you come, shouldn't that be, if any questions around? I know we talked about this in workshop, but I mean, what presentation is he gonna bring?
I don't think he's doing a presentation. I think he needs
He's
to.
given us a letter of which I want to speak to, and what
Okay.
is he addressing at this point?
City attorney, need you to turn in on this particular question. We have our city manager, legal representative here. Would it be appropriate at this time? I know it's up to us and how we want to proceed. I think Commissioner Everett is really questioning not the real procedure of how we should carry this out, which I'm just trying to get some input from a legal standpoint. Do we need to go ahead and attempt to discuss this contract and have the legal representative for the city manager kind of join in if you have any questions or want to have some input during that time?
And Mr. Mayor, I think you all need to have a discussion on what you all want to do. And so I think at this point, you need to have a discussion. There's nothing that obviously I'm not going to, I'm going to tell you if anything comes up, if this looks like it's not, proper or something like that. But I've already put in a contract document for you all to review. The manager has agreed to the terms of it. And at this point, you just have to determine whether you will accept it or not. It's nothing has changed because the city manager got an attorney. Nothing at all. You still need to determine whether you like the contract as it is and it doesn't present any issue, or whether you want to make changes, which is separate and apart from what the issues that were brought up in the letter today. And frankly, those are some of the things that, in terms of an evaluation process, those are different, but things that you need to address as well at some point. So this is really in your lap, and so we can, kind of, and I don't want to say kick down the road, but we can, of course, I could spend a bunch of time going back and forth with the attorney and come to you all and come back and forth, but the manager already has a contract that he has agreed to, that he's put before you, and you need to decide whether or not it's acceptable to you. And so that's where you are, at this point. And I don't know exactly what the manager presented to you. He was going to give you documentation, so that you can be prepared for the meeting. And I don't know what you have in front of you, but you need to kind of, and I don't know what he gave you as. I don't know what you have. But,
Okay.
Well,
because I may not have been sent what you have. I do have what I prepared, and that was sent last year.
Exactly. I don't have that document that she's referencing that was done in 2019. And in fact, my approach to this was because we, as Commissioner Everett has indicated, we have not gone back to this in quite some time. The way I was looking at it is we needed to start from the beginning. That means a lot's going to change, but we need to start really kind of from a different set of eyes with a new document. I don't have that document. That's why nothing was presented tonight. I wasn't even thinking I needed to bring that old document back because I didn't think we would get into a back and forth discussion on what the new contract should look like. I thought we would decide on how the procedures would go on how to develop a new contract. That's what I thought where we were tonight. That's why I didn't present. I don't have a document that he has. And I don't have it.
Okay. Commissioner,
Okay, let me say this for the record. My intent is not to be adversarial. This is not about Mr. Williamson. This is about the position of city manager, and Mr. Williamson happens to be the city manager. We have talked about this. I'm looking at December the 10th, 2019. It was voted on at that particular meeting to delay conversation, and we'll come back at our next commission meeting to discuss unreadiness. From that point to this point, there has been no conversations in regards to dissent or issue with the contract other than we could not agree on salary increase. We were not in agreement with time that the city manager is given. I had issue with whether severing the agreement on good terms or bad terms with time that he would be compensated with, considering some other nuances from where I sit may not be in place in terms of, and I'm gonna get to this letter as well. So it's not be adversarial. It is just saying we have done the old-fashioned House and Senate filibuster long enough. I disagree with the citizens' comment with regards to delaying for another election, because I think it would be unfair to put this contract and this business that we should have done, and we should take some of the onus. I disagree with the letter completely, disagree with the letter in some regards, but I agree with the city attorney, because an attorney is here, should not put us in a position with our backs against the wall that four competent people cannot sit and discuss what's in print and discuss as we did before, because we didn't have attorneys before to come and debate on issues with this contract. So why can't we discuss, and if there are some issues that require legal intervention, then we got a city attorney who works on behalf of our interests, and the city manager secures him legal representation so that he can protect his interests. But I don't think we need to just have some presentation tonight from an attorney. If we got a question, we got ours on the phone. If Mr. Williamson has a question, he has his attorney, and we can do it that way. But I don't think we need a presentation, because we have done the old business of filibustering long enough. We need to say what it is we agree with, say what it is we do not agree with, and move forward. I even stated, because of the public pressure of firing someone, I made a statement. I don't believe if you're going to fire someone, you're going to send them away with a fat pocket. We got to look at time. If we reference, I hate to bring up this sore spot, but it is what it is. When you bring up the conversation of the report, one of the reports talked about the practice of taking time in regards to the city manager, and the amount of time accrued was not in sync with how the time was allotted. So there are some things that we need to address. And this is not about like or dislike, it's about business. And when we talked about that contract before, I said it ain't about liking. It's not a matter of respect or disrespect. It's about what is in the best interest of this city. And I would trust, regardless of where we stand in our personal interactions with Mr. Williamson, where we stand professionally with Mr. Williamson, that we can set those things aside and look at what is in the best interest of this city. Because one of the things that we need to keep in mind is a word called precedence. And it is a word used in legal conversations, that if you set a certain precedence, then future city managers may reference this day. And I even said that in conversations with raises. When you give raises in increment at certain increments, not heeding to maybe national averages and different things of that nature, you may give more teeth to a person's argument to say this is what we did in years past. So my thing is about fairness. It's about doing what's right and setting them other little things aside and do what's in the best interest of this city. And Mr. Mayor, if it calls for special meetings, I don't think it would be fair and right to delay this beyond an election. And we've had some poor demonstrations of doing things, half behind. We need to do it, and we need to do it before new persons coming on board. I'm not running again, and near the end of my term, I'll speak to that. But we need to. It's not fair to leave loose ends unaddressed and putting it in the laps of persons who will be sitting in these seats. That's not them. That's not their saddle to sit in. I think it's something that we need to do and do it. What's in the best interest of this city. I stated some of my concerns. I'm gonna say this, and I'm a hush because some others need to talk. One of the things I did not agree with completely with this letter was this. It is incumbent upon me to have you recall that there has been no annual evaluation of the manager by the City Commission since 2018, as agreed in the current contract. Now, if we're gonna speak truth to power, if we're gonna speak truth, I will say this, some of the responsibility rests on us. But if you do recall, when conversations did not get beyond an agreement on salary, the conversations abruptly end and we go on with business as usual. There were also concerns with some individuals not feeling comfortable discussing the evaluation because of community unrest, and you're not going to always satisfy everybody, but because of unrest and dissent that was within our community, there was some uncomfortableness about discussing issues relating to the city manager's evaluation openly. We didn't review it. We just got a report and we went on. But I'm looking at this letter now, which I'm going to say this respectfully, and I ain't got no bones against anyone. I'm going to say this respectfully. To me, I took it as an insult to our intelligence, and I took it as an attempt to say what we did not do without stating fully what took place. When we could not agree on money, those conversations end. Now, some of the onus is on us, but I don't think we need to completely shoulder that responsibility because none of us are in direct control of this agenda. We have been told, and according to policy and charter and all these good things that we have that guide the sacred business of this city, we were told that the mayor, in concert with the city manager, drives, and correct me if I'm wrong, I could be wrong, I'm not as junior as Ms. Boland, drives the agenda that is presented. And so I would share some of this responsibility as my colleagues, but I don't think that's fully our responsibility. In regards to that. So we have not had opportunities to discuss performance, ratings that we have provided. And there's been times, and we can accept responsibility. I can individually, times where we could have been better at doing what we are tasked and assigned to do. But I don't think this is fully for us to bear. And so I did take issue with that language right there. I'm not saying that the intent was malicious, but I can only tell you what I read and how I felt like it was somewhat an insult. And I just would hope that this discussion is not adversarial, that we can do what is going to be in the best interest of not only Mr. Williamson, but what's going to be in the best interest ultimately of this city. And for now, that's all I got to say.
Okay.
Mayor, just to be in a proper perspective, the city attorneys represent a document I don't have, or my attorney doesn't have. And for us to move forward, we need that document for review, period.
Okay.
Mary,
I'ma
is
say
it
1
possible-
year.
Can I say?
We talk.
Yeah, let me
Is
go
it-
back to one question or one comment that was made just as observation about the mayor. Commissioner Everett stated it, that was just a perception in the community. I think that's what he was referring to, that the mayor and the city manager guide the agenda. I have no more authority of this agenda than any commission. When an item is added or requested to be added, I have to follow the same procedures as a commission. I have to request it be placed as a future agenda item. The commission has to at least majority agree before it can be added to it. So I have no control over it. I wish I did have some means of controlling some of the items.
I didn't say control. I just said guide, and I did.
Even guide.
I did say that I could be wrong on the matter, and correct me if you will.
Right.
But I do know the city manager presents us with the agenda.
Right. And I'm just making.
Okay. And we did say in December 2019, because of not agreeing that night, that we would bring it on the next agenda. And I would venture to say, on that next agenda, that was the 10th, that next week was the 17th, and that next week was the 24th, which was Christmas Eve. I would venture to say that meant in January. Did we talk about it? Did we come to a resolution? Did we have attorneys?
Okay, I got your
No,
point.
so the point I'm making is, we've been on this a year, okay? The city manager and all of us had an agreement, had a contract. The only issue with it was the time that was presented after we could not agree on money.
Okay.
And the response was, I will continue with the contract we have, negotiations, discussions ended, and yet again, we're here, January the 12th,
Right.
2021, discussing it again.
Right. Again, I'm gonna just make that clear though. I don't even have a discussion outside of the commission about agenda items. Again, the procedure is to add it in an open meeting with the majority agreeing with it. I agree maybe as a presiding officer of this commission, if we have decided to do something, not only is it the mayor's responsibility, it's all of our responsibility to say, you know what? We brought this up at our last meeting to make sure that we follow it through and add it on the agenda, and it's not there because I'm not going to catch everything. So I'm just sharing with all of us here. It's our total responsibility to do it. But I don't guide the agenda. I don't even steer the agenda.
But Ms. Smith,
Yeah.
you heard me.
Mhm.
If you heard me, even in addressing my dissent or issue with this letter, this correspondence from the attorney, I did say that we. I didn't say y'all. I
I'm
even
not
said
saying
I.
you're blaming me. I'm
Yeah,
not
no,
saying
no,
that. Right.
we bear some of the responsibility. We do. Because we table and the stuff don't get off the table. It stay right there on it. And, part of that is our fault.
Okay. Let's get back on the contract.
Yeah.
I agree. Go, Vice Mayor.
Sorry. Why don't we do this? I know we don't have what Attorney Bernadette drew up on the 29th, but we have an outline of what the contract looked like. I can agree that we did, and Attorney Weeks is on the phone. If she can read over what the change, I know that the city manager agreed to not erase it. I can agree to what we was talking about, the time of it. I think it has been drawn out too long. It's time to get it done and settled with. I'm in agreement with going through the contract if attorneys feel comfortable, I know I don't have it with me, December the 29th, copy. But we do have an outline of what the
Mayor,
contract.
we don't have a document in front of us. We can't do that.
Well, let me.
But can I say this,
Can't
Attorney
do that.
Weeks? Before we talked about this, the last meeting, when y'all told me that we couldn't put it on the agenda. And we said in clear terms, not only last meeting, but a meeting two before that, we talked about, because the city manager rightfully so said that the last meeting that he did not have the documents. But we stressed, or at least because it was an issue that I wanted to bring up, that those documents all be here. That
But you got that
because when the contract was given, the first concern I had was, and yes, I'm new to city government, as I was told when I first came on board. But I'm not new to, some things, it's common sense with business. If you amend a contract, you have the original. We were not given an original. We were just given an amended copy. And so one of the directives was that all documents be presented.
Well, Commissioner Everett, you have the last contract. I emailed it to you.
No.
Is this 2015?
No.
You emailed this,
my
right?
contract is 2017.
But
And
what
that's
I'm
the
saying-
contract you got. And because it hadn't, and I explained this in an email October 2020 to you. I said, and I also sent it to Commissioner Rowland, I'll pull the emails out. The 2017 contract, which is my current contract, when it was created, for some odd reason, we don't know why, you have the words Amendment 3 at the top. There is no Amendment 1 on file, there's no Amendment 2 on file. It was a mistake, and no one caught it. That's verifiable in HR in my records. That's verifiable by the city clerk. So you have the document, 2017 contract that I'm on, period. That's the document you're referencing. 2015 is not an active document because that's my first contract. The 2017 replaced that contract. It's not even relevant to this conversation. It's not. I can give it to you, but it's not relevant. But we have the 2017 document. And I can provide it again. I have it here tonight, hard copy. Printed out a lot of them. You can have it, but I also sent it to you. I placed it in your mailbox as well. So the 2017 contract is my contract that we will decide to revise in the document that the city attorney has that we were working on previously. The document that the city attorney has, I don't have. My attorney doesn't have. You don't have. And if I can recall, we don't like having discussions about things that we can't see. So I think it would be more than prudent that we get the working document that the city attorney has in front of us so we all can look at it before we move forward and decide how we want to move forward as far as negotiations, et cetera, et cetera. You need to make that decision first and get that document.
I think it needs to be agreed
Mr.
upon
Mayor?
that we did have
Mr.
a
Mayor?
working document.
Yes. City Attorney?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just following along with, and wanting to advance the conversation based on what the Vice Mayor said. If you all looked at if you have the city manager says he has for you several copies of the current contract.
No,
Maybe you
yeah,
can.
but
I
it's
thought
different.
you said you had copies of the current
No.
contract. the
No,
2017
not the one you
document.
have. No, I have the old
Talking
one.
about the 2017 one.
Yeah.
Your current contract is the 2017 contract. You don't have that document with you to share with the commissioners?
I have that, but we don't have the document that you're reading from. And I think it'd be more fair.
I'm not talking about any document I'm reading from. That was an agenda item or whatever months ago, but I'm not talking about that. I'm saying what you do have, and being consistent with what the Vice Mayor brought up, you actually do have, and you should distribute that 2017 document so that they see and they can eyeball that document, because you're correct, Mr. Chandler, Mr. Williamson, that is the document that's relevant now. And so that document has the basic, basic terms upon which, they're looking at and seeing whether or not they want to change. I can point out anything that's different from them looking at that document from the one that I sent you and you worked on and you agreed to before it went to the commission previously. But if you want to kind of advance the conversation, what you can do is you can pass out the 2017 document so everybody has that, and then start talking through it from that document. You have your attorney here, I'm here, the commission's here. They can, talk about it, and then that will give us something. If the commission wants to work on something or work on language, that will give at least me and Mr. DeGrasse can write something to talk about, depending on what you say here. But in order to advance the conversation, Mr. Mayor, that's all I'm offering that as a suggestion so that this can move forward in some direction.
I mean, I defer to Mr. Graffin, right? I have no more to say about it.
Let me ask one question though. Do you have a copy of the
Yeah,
17?
The one I delivered to you today, the one that's in the mailboxes, I also emailed it, but I have copies of the 2017.
Is it the one that says amendment number 3? That one's the one you're talking about?
Okay. Let's start there. Let's pass that
Hold
out.
on. Do I get to talk? I mean, they both got to talk.
That's not going to stop you from talking,
Okay.
but go ahead and
Okay.
make your point.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wow.
I understand what Commissioner Everett says, and I agree. I was not happy when I received this letter as well. I don't know why the city manager felt that it was important to go out and hire independent counsel, which is certainly his right, but normally I would think that you would have your attorney look it over after we've come to an agreement before you signed it, as opposed to him showing up unannounced in our city commission meeting. My thought is that we have put this off, and I agree, we have put it off for over a year. I don't know why we would rush into anything tonight after a year of us dragging this out without everything in front of us that we need to have. You all know me, and you know that I hate that. I like to see things in writing. I don't have that great a memory, so if I've got it in writing, I can see it, I can do it. I don't think it's a good idea to negotiate this contract, and I totally disagree with what Commissioner Everett said as far as it's our responsibility. Yes, it is our responsibility, but in less than 2 months, 2 of our commissioners will be replaced with 2 more commissioners. And they will have to work under this contract without any kind of say-so as to what we negotiated here tonight. If we had done this back in June or last year sometime, that would have been bad enough, and I probably still would have been a problem with it. But to wait and not to rush into it now and to have 2 new commissioners, it's not as if Commissioner Everett or Commissioner Hill, either one are going to be back on the dais because neither one of them are on the ballot. So to have 2 brand new commissioners walk in and have to work under a contract that we negotiated at the last minute after waiting a full year or more to do it, to me, does not make sense. I think that it would be a good thing for us to wait for them. Go ahead and let's do an evaluation. If, according to this, we did not do an evaluation, did we? Did we ever see it? Does anybody know what the evaluation said or what the number was or anything? Did we ever have HR come and give us a report on the evaluation? I don't remember any of that. If it did, I must have missed it. So we have plenty of time to do that, and then the new commission would have the opportunity to look at our evaluations and to help make this decision with who they're going to work with, how they're going to work with that person in the upcoming years.
I categorically disagree with new commissioners coming aboard. When I was a new commissioner, I was excused. And personally, I felt that I needed to not participate in an evaluative process, because how can new persons evaluate a commissioner and they have recently been elected? It is our responsibility to do it fairly in the best interest of this city, because if they come on to evaluate the city manager, regardless of who it is, it would give an impression that they have come with preconceived notions, because sitting here as an elected official and sitting out there as a private citizen is two different lenses. I feel like it is our responsibility to address the issues that have lingered from December 2019. We admit our transgression, and that transgression was that we should have kept the conversations going, but we being moved, well, I'll just give my assessment, being moved by the emotions and the pulse of this community, our only focus was the money. And the other focus that I did bring up, because people was talking about firing, but you know, I've had my reasons, and I'll even share near the end of my term, you know, my reasons. But one is we had some issues with time, you know, and I've seen business in school districts where you pay a man a hefty salary and tell him to go up the road. The Palm Beach County School District has paid superintendents out the yin to leave. Why would you do that? We need to work on that. Work on the processes with how time is being deducted, because that was a concern that was mentioned in one of those reports. So I just don't think it needs to be delayed. I
Commissioner,
categorically disagree
if I
with
could
that.
just-
But that's just our personal opinions.
Thank you.
And we'll agree to disagree on that.
Yes, sir, but I think I maybe didn't make myself clear. I would like to see this commission do the evaluation. Because yes, you're right, we're the ones who have worked with him and had to deal with him the last 3 years, or however long we've been here. So yes, I think that this commission should do the evaluation, but I think that the next commission should be the ones that make the decision and have access to those evaluations and to be a part of this decision.
My comment on that is I 100% disagree as far as having those new commissioners decide on a contract. That's our responsibility totally at this point. Now, once they're on board, if they want to make a motion for some type of amendment, if it can be voted upon by the majority, that's their responsibility, or whoever decide that. But to wait 2 months for a new commission to come on, I wish I could do it, because that would be the easy thing to do. That would be like passing the buck, giving me out of that, although I would still be here,
You'll still
but
be here.
giving
How would you
us
pass the
as a
buck?
whole out of that situation. I think we should move forward and do it. But the biggest question, even doing
That's a slight to me. You know, I matter. I might be gone. Not might be. I will be gone. That's a slight to me to tell the mayor that because he's still gonna be here, it ain't a passing of the buck. It is a passing of the buck, because whether persons agree with my contributions or not, my opinion, positions on these matters still matter until this next person sits here. So to delay it for persons that we feel like is gonna swing or bend to the side of the pendulum we want it to swing, no. I feel like it need to be done. We don't need to do no House or Senate filibuster. we got enough time from this point till until the next person is sworn in to make a decision. And I'm prepared to come with a clear, fair lens that will put the city in, that will put the interests of the city first. And I think, for the most part, I've tried to be as fair and look at more than just on one side. I can't please everybody, and that was, that's an impossible feat. But I think that was a slap to me and Ms. Hill, because we still matter. We're still here until the next persons are elected. You don't know what's going to happen between now and election. You saw what happened with the national.
And I'm going to go one step farther as far as the land passing the buck, or whatever you want to term it as. I think it's our responsibility to decide whether or not we're going to retain this city manager, and what disciplinary action going to occur if some occur. I know we had asked, at least the majority at that time, that we wait till those other investigative reports to be completed, but that's another decision that this commission should make, whether or not we're going to continue to wait or whether or not we're going to actually make those decisions, and that may affect the outcome of even doing a contract if that hadn't been decided. So we got some steps that we definitely need to take, and one of them also, I'm going to go back to the concern that Commissioner Everett had with the accrued vacation time. I don't think neither one of us at this point know, because we hadn't heard back from the HR director through the city manager, what is the balance? What would even be the payoff if the city manager left or was terminated? What is his accrued vacation time at this point? How much of those days was actually taken off the book because it was questionable whether or not the time off could be considered work-related or whether it was a strict vacation. So if we don't do anything else, we got to get to that point real quick and real fast to determine that, and then we need to begin working on the contract if it's going to be the desire to maintain the city manager currently. I mean, you can do the beautiful contract, one that's agreeable to everyone, and you end up terminating him the next day, which he kind of alluded to. You give a superintendent a big contract and he's gone the next week or so. So that's something we need to consider also. But we do have the 2017 document. That document is the current contract. And we can do like we began to do in the beginning. We went over the document and decided is this an agreeable area that the majority can agree on? If not, what modification need to be made to it? What we're going to strike out, what we're going to add to it.
Mayor, we still need that document, and I agree with Commissioner Bolden. We need that document in front of us tonight before we can do that.
If we're going to delay
we can just
further
take it to the next meeting.
because of
We
materials
need
not
those
being
documents.
present after we, fair, just being fair. We've talked about making sure that everything was provided. We talked about that. I don't think I would be, according to in court of law, I think it's the defense that can't lead. I wouldn't be leading the answer by saying that we talked about this. We said we need everything here. Okay.
But Commissioner,
So
you
if we
asked for the
delay,
previous document, not the new working
conversation,
document.
then we need to take in consideration a need for one or two special call meetings to make up for delay and filibuster. Because if not, we just giving lip service to say that it's unfair for the incoming persons to do what we neglected to do on time. Then it would be a slap in me and Miss Hill's face to wait until we are no longer here to do what we failed to do. So I'm advocating until my last day to do what we failed to do. And I'm glad you mentioned, because we don't want to sell the community broken promises. Because we took an oath, we said that we were going to wait until, the report from the Attorney General's office. So we need to give an answer, whether we're going to do it or we ain't going to do it, in terms of some form of discipline. So all I'm saying is, if we going to delay it another night, ain't no skin off my back if we delay it another night. If we going to put in some special call meetings to make up for these delays.
Yeah, we can have,
But
we
Mayor,
can
I
have,
don't think this is not a delay. It's just Mr. DeGraff, right, who hasn't spoken yet. I didn't come here thinking we were going to negotiate a contract tonight. I came here to figure out how we were going to move forward.
But you brought legal. You brought legal representation.
Well, of course, we're at that point where we've gone too much back and forth that I'm not being successful on my own. So, I bought it legal.
And
but
fairly, we were blindsided.
I'm not asking that we delay this to after the election. We got 64 days before the next election. I'm just saying we don't have those documents in front of us. He doesn't have that document. And so I agree with Commissioner Everett. Yes, let's decide to do it, but you can't do that tonight because you don't have it in front of you.
Okay.
But if but what I think we received this letter, and I was blindsided. I can't speak for everybody. I know I was with opposing attorney comment. So my question is, if we wasn't prepared to do any conversation, then why did and I can't pronounce your name, but the attorney. Okay, I'm not even gonna even try because I'm a Southerner and I got that drawl and I'm gonna mess you up. Yes, but I would say this: if we weren't prepared to do any of that, then why we bring an attorney? Unless we, why bring him and he wasting time, coming, if we weren't gonna do anything.
Okay. Let's motion for a special call meeting. What is the earliest? We can do one within 24 hours of notice. We can wait till next Tuesday, which may be, because Tuesday seem to be on most commissioner radar, we can wait till Tuesday, have all the documents we need, which will include that last contract that was presented that we was started to work on, the documentation from HR as far as what is the city manager balance on both vacation and sick, to also include what days and what time was deducted. We need, I can't say, and I'm giving this information for the city manager purpose. I don't want him to come up and say, okay, I have a balance of 400 hours. I'm just using that hypothetically. Okay, you have a balance of 400 hours. What did you have prior to that? What was actually deducted based on the IG report? What are the dates and the hours? So we can have that in our hand. And I would suggest if it's no problem
And could it
with the
include
commission.
severance? Could it also include severance?
Yeah, we can do that
Should
based,
include
So,
everything,
so you
shouldn't it?
have a sum total.
yeah, based
Yeah.
on
What
the
it looks like.
hours, what would it be under our current contract that the city manager would have to be compensated for?
Okay, and
Based on those hours.
can we also add to that a copy of everybody's evaluation so that we can see
You
how
don't have
we
an
evaluated?
evaluation. You didn't do one.
We
And
didn't
we're
do
2
one?
months away from the next evaluation for 2020, for 2019, from 2020, 2019.
So can
I mean,
I
from 2019, 2020.
What
You don't have an evaluation.
what
It
happened
wasn't
to the
completed.
2019 one? Because I know
That was
I
for the
completed one.
That was for 2018, 2019. You did that one. Then the HR sent the commission the 2019, 2020 evaluation. It was never completed, but we continued with contract discussions regardless of whether the evaluation was done. And that's where we ended up at. And we sort of pushed the evaluation to the side because we really wanted to do a
So why
contract.
don't we take this week, do
So
an
we're 2 months
evaluation
away
and
from
have it
another
ready next
evaluation that's
week when we
already
come
due
back?
by the anniversary date, which is April 6th, which is 30 days. After April 6th, you have to do an evaluation. So you're 2 months away from another evaluation from this end of the year report. So I don't know if we want to go back and try to regurgitate a year and a half that's lost in an evaluation, or just
I
move
think this was
forward.
an important year to evaluate.
Oh, I think so too, based
City-
on this right here.
City,
Yeah, I would agree.
City Attorney,
Yes, sir.
what moving parts, being that I was new to public service, what moving parts are involved in ensuring that an evaluation is done each year? Because we do have a human resource manager, don't we? And
Just
and we can all agree that we've all forgot things, made mistakes, errors, things were overlooked, things had to come back, be ratified, and all of that. So if other errors were addressed when discovered, if we miss that evaluation process, isn't the human resource manager's role and responsibility is to ensure that all staff, employees of this city, is properly evaluated?
And his contract calls for it.
But what happens, Commissioner, is the manager evaluates all staff. That's what he's required to do by per the code, and he's the only one who can evaluate the staff. You all evaluate the manager. The evaluation of performance requirement is in Section 4 of his current contract that's in front of you. This contract, by the way, doesn't differ substantially from, it has some things that have changed, and it has some beefing up and that kind of thing, but it's pretty much the general topics are the same between this and the revision that we made and had on the agenda in 2019. So in terms of a process, what is generally done, and I don't know what your evaluation tool looks like for the manager, but in a lot of cities, the manager would start with giving a self-evaluation that he would complete by some time, and then sometime certain, and he'd give it to the commissioners, he distributed it. You use that based on the criteria that you had, set out somewhere, or based on the evaluation tool that you use. And cities do it differently in terms of tools. So the tool maybe, but then the ICMA, the City Manager Association, they do have, like a standard tool that's very liberal for, and it's something that most managers kind of agree to because it's like a liberal tool for managers. So some cities kind of agree to use that. Some other cities think that it's too favorable, that's the word, for the managers, and they have a different tool. I don't know what tool, again, that you all use, or whether the manager does a self-evaluation process, but what it says in Section 4 is that annually the city shall define such goals and performance objectives which it determines are necessary for the proper operation of the city and the attainment of the city's policy objectives. The initial goals and objectives shall be established within 60 days of employment. This is obviously he's in employment now. The city shall further establish a relative priority among these various goals and objectives, which shall be reduced to writing. So apparently what Mr. DeGraffenreich sent today was saying something along the lines of, and suggesting, I guess, that you all are somehow not compliant with your own contract because you haven't reduced to writing what those goals are supposed to be, unless you did somewhere and I don't know where they are. But it further says, B, the city shall review and evaluate the performance of the city manager annually and should provide the evaluation to the city manager in writing. And then finally, upon the completion of the annual performance review, city managers shall be entitled to a standard increase in pay or bonus generally given to all senior management employees and any other increase given at the sole discretion of the commission. So these are, this is what you have in writing as your process. Now, and then what's being complained of in the letter is that you haven't put in writing what you want those goals to be. Now, this is a separate issue from retaining the city manager that you all that the mayor brought up previously. This is completely separate. Whether you believe that this contract is the contract that you have right now, which is Mr. Graffin Wright was correct when he sent it to you. This is what you have until two parties agree and change this contract. That is a separate issue from whether based upon the, other IG reports and based upon and remember, you do have a charter provision that you have to comply with in order to, if you were looking at not removing the manager, you do have a process under the charter that you have to comply with. So that can't be done like even immediately. You would have to, go through what you would, what you had looked at before, and we've explained that without going back to it. So I just don't want you mixing up the two issues because they're actually two very separate issues. Now there is obviously, I won't go into that. So hopefully I've answered your question about the performance, about the evaluation and the process. And I guess the next thing you want to do whenever you come back to meet again, whether it's in a special meeting or the next commission meeting, is also have whatever your tool is supposed to be distributed between now and then, and also be prepared to have some conversation. And maybe nothing prevents that from happening tonight, since you do have an agenda. But have some communication about how you're going to. How do you plan to evaluate him? How have you all done that before? What process was used before? What tool was used? Those kind of things need to be discussed.
City Manager, and just thinking outside of the box, what would occur if we decided to terminate the current contract? The reason I'm bringing this up is some discussion we want to just start anew. And have the city manager possibly work temporarily till we can get a new contract in place without a contract. I'm not even sure if that's an ideal that the commission even want to entertain, but I'm just asking that for my own information purposes. Because under my items of things we could do, for some reason I put that out there, terminating of the current contract of the city manager. Could you speak on that just briefly for it?
I don't think she knows you're talking to her.
City Attorney.
Sorry, I thought I was off mute. Sorry about that. Okay. Couple things. One is under the removal process, and if you were looking to remove the city manager, and then I'll tell you what the termination process has in the contract currently. You'd have to, somebody brought a resolution months ago to remove the manager, and so that has to be done pursuant to section 3.03, and it is and it's in your charter. And so it says that basically the city commission has to adopt a preliminary resolution stating the reasons for the intended removal, and you all saw that. And so without going through that, that was, those things are in that document. And so that really deals with the removal process. Now, you do have a process in your current contract that deals with, and there's some question about, this was not, I did not draft this, but there's some question about, how this coincides really with what you have in your charter, and maybe this information of the charter wasn't known when this was drafted. But pretty much, section 3 says the city may terminate, in the document that you have in front of you, says the city may terminate this contract, and it says without cause, and it has with cause. So really, you have to kind of read, I guess, to the extent that you can, read this in with the the removal issue that you already have in your charter, because you really can't just kind of get rid of them without having a public process that he is able to respond to, and has at least 20 days to do so. Having 20, it talks about in the charter, it talks about no earlier than 20 days or later than 30 days after the adoption of the preliminary resolution. So you actually would have to adopt the preliminary resolution first, and then he has some opportunity to respond. So you basically have to, and your charter is going to be something that the manager, I'm sure Mr. DeGraffenreich, Wright, would challenge if you wanted to go in the direction of just terminating him with or without cause. He'd probably say that it's not done pursuant to the charter. So I think at the very least, if you were headed in the direction of wanting to relook at the issues that you had before, that has to at least go on some kind of a meeting agenda so that he has a proper ability to respond and do it pursuant to the charter.
I don't think she answered
I
the
don't think that's the question he asked.
Yeah.
City Attorney, he asked what's the process if we wanted to terminate the current contract and have me work without a contract, what is that process? That's what he was asking.
Okay, but and that's what I'm saying. Unless you agree to be terminated by under the current contract, which it takes two people. So if you're agreeing and you and your attorney and you agree that, okay, we're going to just terminate this, we're going to agree to terminate this contract. This contract will have no other effect, and we put in writing, we would put that you agree to the termination of the contract, and then we that's what we could do. We could certainly do that, and so you may want to consult with your attorney, but certainly that's something we could do. But what we don't want to do, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, is to be in a position where the city says on its own, we are terminating your contract, and then it gives Chandler an opportunity, Mr. Williamson, an opportunity to come back and say you didn't terminate it properly because you're supposed to do it pursuant to the section 3.03 of your charter. So, but if Mr. Williamson is fine with terminating his contract, and then, maybe you come back and you have no contract, and you agree that maybe you have just, he gets just, the time that he has, and he's expected to work a certain number of hours, or that, there are many times that people may be working without a contract, and that's even city managers. Sometimes managers come in on a temporary basis, and they may not have a contract. It may just be done by resolution, and that person starts, and then they stop at a certain point or whatever. But I guess the question would be, and I'm not asking you to answer out loud, you may want to consult with your attorney, but the question would be whether you are agreeable to operating without a contract.
Mayor, I'd refer that to Mr. DeGraffenreich. I'll let him answer all those questions.
Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening.
Commissioners. The process requires some consideration and some thought, because it's going to impact not only my client, but his family as he moves forward in his career. He may choose to do that, but I have not discussed that with him. And we have not discussed the ramifications and consequences of agreeing to terminate a contract and work without one. And I respectfully request the opportunity to do that with him in order that we can give you a firm and committed answer to that question. And while I'm at the dais, please permit me to apologize if I offended anybody in my letter. That was not my intent. My intent was merely to call to your attention, one, there is an existing contract, and the benefits and entitlements under that employment contract have been agreed to by action of the council, and they're operative until it's terminated. The other part of that was to say that, as you know, a modified agreement or an altered agreement has to be an agreement that's mutually agreed to. If it cannot be agreed to, there's not going to be a modification. I did not know when I came here that there was a prior agreement that had been agreed to but for benefits and salary. I did not know that, and I apologize for not knowing it because I didn't ask. But it appears, if I'm understanding correctly from the city attorney, that agreement languished for about a year, for whatever reason. But currently, we have things that we can agree to definitively, and we know exactly where we're disputing, if I'm understanding it correctly. And the dispute is with accrued vacation and sick time from the council's perspective, and correct me if I'm wrong, and from the manager's perspective, it is salary. Those seem to be the sticking points. Is there anything else?
Well,
Is that it?
Well, Mr. DeGraff,
I'm gonna
right,
defer
just,
to the law.
just so you,
Yes, ma'am.
through the mayor, and if it's okay, and thank you and welcome, and thank you for your comments. There have been, and I think this was alluded to but not said, there have been some changes, I guess, in terms of things that have happened since this contract was discussed in December of 2019.
Yes, ma'am.
Those changes include IG reports that had come out. And in that vein, I don't know that and these are things that are not being said, I don't know that anything has changed in terms of how those issues are being looked at, and whether, and I think the commissioners, they're talking in layers tonight, and layers that you may not completely understand because you haven't, you don't know all of the issues that are
I am somewhat confused. Yes, ma'am.
Right. And so because of these layers of things that have happened and things where the commission had even considered terminations before, I don't know that even just going back to the contract is going to be, or would necessarily represent where the commission is now. And so that's one of the reasons why earlier today, or tonight, I did mention that, if you and I kind of knew through listening to some discussion what kind of things they were in agreement, not in agreement with, that would give us a better idea of how we could craft language to meet the goals of whatever was being said. Now, a different conversation is whether the manager stays or not. So there are two different kind of issues going around. And then the mayor went further to say, can we really have this discussion before we have the other discussion? And I don't know. I'm not. You and I. We're. That's out of our.
That's policy.
Out of our, right.
Yes, ma'am.
But what we can do, and what I'm sure we're prepared to do, if they are willing to, and which I was hoping to kind of advance at least a little bit, just to get an idea of if they were willing to talk about the contract. What kind of things are really objectionable, or what kind of things would they like to change? Just forget what was done in 2019, because so many things have changed since then, but good and bad, right? But however, in terms of what they see in front of them with this 2017 contract, if I knew, and some things we know need to change because it needs to be some reference to even the city's own charter, but if they thought, for instance, Section 4 on evaluation and performance, we want to see, this language instead of this. The manager needs to bring forth, we need to agree upon a tool, and they tell us the kind of things they want to see in an evaluation process. They tell us the kind of things we will agree to a salary of no more than this. They tell us, what kind of payments upon separation. So just going through the big ticket items, which are pretty much the same in the other document, but for some things that Channel wanted and some. But anyway, I'll wrap up by just saying, I think it would be helpful. It's a short document in front of you. And I'm not forcing anybody to, have a conversation tonight. Obviously, if, you think it's more appropriate to do it later this week or next week or whenever you all decide, that's what you decide. But I think that in order to advance the conversation, some real serious consideration needs to be given, and to those, making sure that you're keeping the conversation separate, and if your client wants to just pass through all of this by saying, look, I'm not really wanting to have any of this conversation, let's agree to mutually agree to terminate this document, then the city can have a brand new conversation about what do we want to see in a brand new contract, or, where we want to go next. So I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to kind of lay things on the table so you knew it's more layered than just going back to the other contract.
I appreciate that clarification. I have one other question, and I guess this directed to the mayor. There's an investigation that's outstanding. I did not understand.
Yes, there was a total of 3 IG reports.
Okay.
The last one, they forwarded to the state attorney office
Okay.
for possible charges, or to look at the allegations and see whether they warranted any charges, criminal charges. The second one was to the Ethics Commission to see whether any ethical violation was done. So at the time of receiving that report, there was a motion to terminate the city manager, and the reason it didn't move forward because the majority of the commission at that time, which was at least 3, wanted to wait until those other 2 investigative report was finalized. A, whether the state attorney would charge, B, whether there was any ethical violations, and that's what we stood at.
You didn't want to impose discipline if they were well-founded.
Right.
If I'm understanding.
Right.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay,
I greatly
thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, can
I think what we need to do,
So we
and I
have-
think we have kind of come to that conclusion, that we need to have a call meeting, preferably next Tuesday, to further discuss the contract. In the meantime, we gave the city manager the documents that he need to give us a lot prior to that date, so we can have them to review.
prior to Sunday?
City attorney,
Yes, sir.
your schedule with next Tuesday for a special meeting wouldn't come in conflict with any of your schedule?
I will have somebody else cover another meeting, and I will be available, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Now, the next thing I think we need to do prior to that meeting, and hopefully tonight, as quickly as we can, come up with some things that we would like to either see on the contract or delete it. I'm going to give you an example, and I'll start. I would like for this to be a basic contract. You got to put those things that part of the charter as far as terminating and even compensation, but payout serving. That I need to see in that contract, a cap on vacation and sick time. We discussed that. That should be in there. And we need to share others' things or what others feel need to be in there. If there's some compensation, I think Commissioner Everett mentioned, if there's a violation that dealing with inappropriate funds, inappropriate use of credit card, or whatever you want to call it, you may have a clause in there where if that's the case, the servant pay would be the non or minimum, because you don't want to award someone if they're being dismissed for wrongdoing, especially if it's related to funds. So that's just some of my things that I want to kind of play with and see, and that's part of that contract.
If, Mr. Mayor, if I might?
Yes, okay.
Yes, sir. Back to what Commissioner Everett said, if we are going to take this on and we are going to try to do this before the election, and it's going to be us that does it, then that's fine. I've already said my piece on that. But if we are going to do it, then let's do it correctly. This contract calls for us to evaluate him. So let's not leave that for next year for them to do. Let's do that as a part of this contract. We have a week. We can all evaluate him in a week. We could probably evaluate him in an hour. We all have ideas of what we would say or do anyway. So we already have the form that we've had in the past. Why can't he hand that to us tomorrow? we can do it, we can evaluate it, and then we'll have it for the meeting on Tuesday.
Okay.
I make a motion that we do an evaluation along with it prior to this Tuesday.
Okay, and just for clarification, we want to make sure we have the evaluation dates properly, that everyone is using the same. So what date are we using?
Well, my last evaluation was the 2018-2019 fiscal year. The fiscal year that is past due since last anniversary date, April, is the 2019-2020 evaluation. So
that would be April 1st.
there's a little past that because we always did the contract. We always did the evaluation like 30 days after the anniversary date, April 6th.
Try to
We
give
got
us
it
a-
in like
yeah.
May. So if I had to give you a date of the evaluation timeline,
Why don't we just do January 1st to
because
December
you
31st?
have to do by the anniversary date of hire.
Ah.
But we've always, started 30 days after that, 30 to 45 days after
So
that.
what's it, what,
you're talking
April
pretty much all of
31st?
To be fair, you're probably talking all of 2020, and some of 2019, but all of 2020. So you're probably talking.
Would seem to me like you would do an evaluation prior to the contract
Well-
anniversary date rather than after an anniversary date. That doesn't make sense to me.
So it was always done, the HR would send the information to the commission, independent of me, to the commission for evaluation right at around April. And then she would give you 2 to 3 weeks to return it, and then we'd have a discussion.
Okay, let's go April
So-
15, 2000.
I would say 2020. I would say.
2020.
Yeah, the year 2020. I mean, we're January, so
To,
to now,
okay,
from last year till now.
all right.
Yeah.
Everybody got that date on the top of your evaluation? It will be beginning April 15, 2020 until, let's do,
Till next Tuesday?
huh?
Till next,
Now we're gonna start at least a bar,
I'm
so,
concerned. Okay, we're gonna provide something, to the city manager in writing. One of the complaints that was mentioned in the opposing legal was, the evaluative tool. Because what I want us to leave here tonight with is an agreement. This meeting is recorded with an agreement so that there is no qualms about what we're gonna be doing once we leave here tonight when the gavel is slammed. So my thing is, as was mentioned in this letter, that there needs to be a tool that is communicated to the city commission as to, communicate to the city manager from the commission as to how that evaluative process gonna look.
Well, we have,
Am I
we
right
have,
about
we
that?
we have that already. We've had it every year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, if y'all
You
can
get that
look,
every year.
on
Yeah.
April the 29th, the Human Resource sent out the evaluation form.
I never got it.
Well, it was sent out to all of us. I'm looking at the email now. It was sent out to all of us, and then she sent it out again on May 29th, because no one turned it in. She wanted to turn in the first one as of May 15th. No one turned it
not
in.
one person?
No.
So
So
that
then
means
they
that
send
none
it,
of
she
us
sent it
got
out
it.
again.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Jacqueline Ramsey's email. Send it out again on Friday, May 29th, to all, the mayor, myself, Commissioner Bolden, Everett, and Hill. So we have a form, we do have a form.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have
Okay.
a standard.
Yeah,
And we
Human
can-
Resource
yeah,
has, so
that's
all they have to
already
do
in
is
place.
just
We
put
can
in the
just have
date.
a
I just want, no, I just
She-
want
Yeah,
to
you're
resend
right,
it.
Commissioner, all they
I
have to do is
just
just put in
want
the
to be clear.
date, just put the date
Yeah.
in and just
Yeah,
send
she-
the
We can
form.
have a resubmitted if you don't
With the
have
dates
it.
that we
but-
said
Yeah.
tonight.
Yeah.
But I
needs
will
to
say this, and
resubmit it.
I would say this in the future. I will say this. In the future, I will not be here, and I know some will be glad. April, May, June, 3 different times it was mentioned. There is safe to say that not just city commission, there's been times when staff has made or committed oversights, made errors, mistakes. And I would venture to say in April, May, June, we met in some form. I don't recall us having a vacation. And if there was not a evaluation turned in, that's why I asked the question regarding human resource. While I understand she does not evaluate employees according to what drives what we do, the city manager is responsible for in evaluating all employees. But if I'm not, and I'm a little ignorant in some regards, but if, and ignorant means not knowing everything, but the human resources responsibility, and I got a slight background in this, is to be somewhat of a custodian of personnel records. So if there's something missing in personnel records, now I'm not going to bear all of this by myself. Now y'all can speak for yourself. I'm not going to bear all of this by myself, not what was mentioned in this letter, not what is stated tonight. That if something was missing out of the personnel records, there is something called collegiality, which needs to exist. Not only among this commission, but among this entire organization, City of Pahokee. That if there is something missing, if email is not achieving the goal, then some type of memo need to be inserted in the packet. Commissioners, remember to do thus and so, because we're not full-time staff. We do have lives, and many of us have jobs. And so just like staff forgets, as divine as they may think we are, or the lack thereof, we forget. So I think staff, particularly human resources, and I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, so I hope that is not communicated in such a way, but if they are the custodian of the personnel files, there could be a nice reminder other than just email. Because email can be somewhat, that for some, that's the best way. For others, old-fashioned memo in the packet, or a reminder in the meeting, on the agenda. Commission, please do not forget to fill out your evaluation.
Let me say
Well,
this.
in respect to the HR manager, she sent an email. She actually put a hard copy in your box, and then she sent another email. She doesn't send those via email. She gives you a hard copy because she needs a hard copy back. Yeah. She never got those hard copies back.
I didn't say she didn't do anything at all.
Yeah.
I was just giving some other options.
I have to agree with you, because if I sent the 5 people an email and not one returned it, and then I sent another email and still no one returned it, I got to say to myself, maybe they didn't get it, maybe there's something wrong, maybe I need to go one step more. Pick up the phone. What happened to the phone?
I'm gonna put one more part of that too. This was a peculiar year. We dealt with COVID too. That may have been a small part of this whole breakdown.
Yeah, it might have been in the box, but once again, there's other means, because we get reminded. First of all, I'm just gonna put it out here like this. I'm not gonna bear the responsibility. Yeah, it was in the box. Yes, she sent the email, but it's a lot of things that slip through the cracks. If we're gonna talk truth, and if we're gonna just spread some blame, all of us can bear some of this. Exactly. Not just some of us. Not when it's favorable for a party. All of us. And just like when we have been understanding, when staff have forgotten things, that same grace can be extended to us. Because unlike staff, we have other things to do. And I'm not saying that as to say the city is secondary. We have families. Some of us are full-time employed. And we have other things. And there's a such thing as human error, just as been displayed by staff. Staff has committed human error, and we've been gracious. Okay? So if, and Commissioner Boland makes a good point. Right is right, wrong is wrong. If, I can see if 2 out of the 3, she said nobody, turned in an evaluation. So if you did something the same, if you did the same thing the same way and got the same results of 0, What could have been, and I'm not raking her across the coal. She's nice. I have nothing against her. I'm just saying, look at another option. Yes, it was in the box. Yes, she sent an email. Nobody denies that. But if 5 commissioners didn't turn it in, it was a no harm in a reminder being mentioned in the meeting. We ratify everything else. We catch everything else days after it was should have been done. We've caught other errors. So if others can make errors, we can make errors too. And all we were saying is, can you try another option to prevent this from happening again,
sure.
because it makes all of us look bad.
Yeah.
So I don't want it to be a nanny boo-boo because we've done a whole lot of that. It's even among this dais, there's a lack of collegiality up here. When we don't know how to disagree without taking it personal. And it's a y'all thing, me against you and all of that. We are 5 individual persons, and we're not going to all think the same. But there needs to be, for the sake of this city, and for some type of positive movement forward, we need to stop all of this finger pointing and trying to catch people with their pants down, because if we all look bad when one of us look bad.
Okay. I need to.
And it's been communicated not only from this dais, but that same type of disposition is existing in this community, and we are responsible for some of the divisiveness that exists when we want to catch people with their pants down. If we're going to move forward, we got to divorce ourselves. We see what that kind of action is leading this country, being divisive. When you had domestic terrorism, so I wonder, is that the miracles that was mentioned in the meeting prior, that we were going to see miracles of significant proportions? Because this looked like hell, Armageddon, an apocalypse, with what is taking place. And the plot and the narrative that is set on the national scene is also reflective in our local community. And it's incumbent upon whoever is the leader to do what we can to bring this community together. And one person, 2 people, 5 people, 20 people is not worth our community moving like it is moving. And what I don't like, and please forgive me, I've been quiet too long. What I do not like is we can conveniently solicit, illicit, or whatever you want to say, God and the Bible when it's convenient for us. But when the same rhetoric we hear on a national scene is shared on a local, we don't hear nobody calling for a cease and desist. If we're going to dress wrong, and if we're going to attack what is inconsistent with the vision and the mission of this city, we need to clean up everything and not cherry pick what we want to address.
Thank you. I'm going to give you a minute, and we're going to have
It's
really
going to
move
be shorter
on.
than that, sir.
Okay.
With the city attorney's approval, I would respectfully request that
It should
each
be.
of you
We know you
would
were coming.
submit to your human resources director the changes you want in the contract so it can be amalgamated, and I respectfully request it be sent out to us if at all possible by Friday. So we all on the same page when we come back on Tuesday.
Okay.
I'm glad it was shorter than that, but I will say this too, moving forward, that we're gonna have some guests, because with COVID restrictions and all that, and we're gonna have visitors, guests, presentations and all, because I was told to be here.
Okay.
I knew I was gonna be here, and I knew I had a lot to say.
Okay.
But hopefully we'll get an announcement when we're gonna have a person coming other than who's supposed to be in here.
Okay. Okay.
And no slight against you, sir.
Let's.
I've been medically cleared.
Okay. Great. Let's
So
move
don't
to
we
this.
need a motion
I'm not about that.
for the special meeting?
Okay. We'll.
And Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
I don't want to put staff in a position of getting information for the city attorney's contract. So if you all have things or changes that you want made, you can send them to me. Just don't copy the rest of the commissioners, but you can send them to me, and then I can try to pull together just bullet points of things that were sent.
Okay.
City attorney or city managers? You said city attorney.
City attorney. Okay, you want to make the motion for this special meeting?
I make a motion that we have a special meeting to discuss the city manager's contract on
Jeez.
January 19th, is it?
Yes, ma'am.
19th, 2021,
At 6
Second.
p.m.
What time?
6 p.m.
Okay.
Second.
It been moved by Commissioner Bolden, properly second by Commissioner Everett, that we have a special call meeting on Tuesday, January 19 at 6 p.m. Call for questions. Hearing none, are you ready for a vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Bolden,
Yes?
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill, Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
and Mayor Bowden.
Yes. Okay, the last,
Mayor, I'd also like to add a motion that we have the evaluations done and ready for that meeting on January 19th, 2021 at 6 p.m.
and we need to have them turned into HR for tabulation too, the whole prior to that, so.
Right.
Okay.
So if, I guess I make a motion then that we get them tomorrow, and then we get them back to HR by, what,
Friday.
Friday? So she can tabulate them and get them back, the answers or whatever?
Okay.
Okay.
Have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Bolden, properly second by Commissioner Everett, that we have our evaluation completed by Friday and turned into the HR for tabulation, so we can have them for a special call meeting. Call for questions? Hearing none, are you ready for a vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Bolden,
Yes?
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill, Vice Mayor Mervin.
Yes.
Mayor Bowden.
Yes, thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioner. This motion passes unanimously. Lastly, I want to go on to this last item here, City Clerk. We did a informal interview with the clerk. The question is whether or not we want to proceed with offering her the job, or do we want to consider re-advertising? We got a qualified clerk. Ms. Blanco has been working as an acting clerk. She really needs some respite on this dual responsibility. So it's up to the commission. This is the question at hand. And if so, we have a resolution already prepared for a vote if that's our desire. If not, we can delay the decision, or we can move forward and try to get this done as quickly as we can.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we table this until the next meeting, because we only have 4 minutes left before we have to end this meeting, and that's not enough time for us to discuss
Okay.
that.
Okay, like of a sec,
oh.
go ahead on, unless you second it.
I'll say second. And you gonna open up for discussion?
Yes. Okay, we have a motion on the floor made by Commissioner Bolden, properly second by Commissioner Everett, to table this discussion on the city clerk position.
Okay, I just want to discuss this very shortly. I wasn't a part, not that I wasn't invited. There was a conflict that prevented me from being a part. However, because of time, being fair, we're nearing the end. There may be a few questions or what have you. I think it's only fair to delay. Sorry, Ms. Palonka, that's just my position. To delay. Maybe since we got a special call meeting, I don't know if we want to delay it to add it on to special call meeting so that we can go ahead and try to do this as expeditiously as possible. But for the sake of time, and if we're going to do business, do it right, be fair, I think it would only be fair to say, hey, let's delay it and maybe add that on as another item, possibly on the special call meeting.
So can you just amend that last motion to add that?
If there's not a lot of questions, if y'all have an informal meeting, you know whether or not you want it or not. Shouldn't be long.
You know, like just amend the motion to add it on to the next, special meeting on Tuesday the 19th.
Well, let's finish this. What's gonna happen, we'll just make another motion to put the two topics that we're gonna be discussing at the special meeting.
So, Rev, can you make that motion?
Okay, in addition, question, hearing none, are you ready for a vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Was it motion?
Wait, what's the motion?
This is a motion
Oh, this is to vote on the existing.
to table the city
Okay,
clerk
that's right. And
Okay.
then another motion, okay.
position.
To table the city clerk.
Right.
Discussion
Motion by Bolden, second by Everett.
for next,
To-
committee.
No, the motion
Just
is
to
just to
table.
table it.
To table.
We'll bring it up on another motion right after this one.
Commissioner Bowden,
Yes.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill, Vice Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Mayor Bowden.
Yes, motion passed by unanimous vote. Now, this next motion would be to put the two topics that we're gonna discuss. So we're gonna have a motion for that. The first motion was to have a special meeting, really to continue the contract, but let's just add both topics to it. You're gonna say, our motion that special
I'm saying, you
meeting
want
with
to-
topic would be the
And then we just.
City
I
manager
offer
contract.
motion that we add the city clerk position onto, the agenda for a special call meeting.
A second.
Been moved by Commissioner Everett, properly second by Vice Mayor Mervin, to add at our special meeting the city clerk topic along with the city manager contract. Call for question.
I have one. Are we going to have her here so that if we have a question for her before we vote, can she be here?
You've already interviewed her.
Yes, I understand that.
I don't think that's proper process. I don't know why somebody would show up to answer more questions. You've already interviewed her.
Okay.
Okay.
I was thinking of Commissioner Everett. He said he didn't have an opportunity to ask her any questions, so
Right.
I thought if he might have a question, that would be an opportunity for him to ask it.
I mean, I didn't want to, I mean, I thank you for your thoughtfulness. I mean, I don't know the position of this commission with that. I mean, it won't be any skin off my back either way. I would, you know, I guess I would have to go on you all's discussion. Is there any, does she have a professional vita that I can look at, a resume?
Yeah, you,
I'll give it to
Okay.
him again.
okay.
If you want to do a one-on-one Zoom.
Because I'm gonna be honest, I was a little, I was slightly confused. Yeah.
Maybe you can Zoom with a one-on-one for next Tuesday.
Yeah, that might be a good idea. to
Yeah, I
have
can do
I'll
that.
set
Zoom,
up.
so you're,
I'll set it.
at least you're interviewing her as well.
In addition to questions, hearing none, you ready for a vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowden,
Yes?
Commissioner Hill, and Mayor Bowden.
Yes. Thank you. Motion passed unanimous. Due to our time elapsed, 9:02.
Could I have the name before the gavel hits? Because I have 4 resumes.
Tina Stinson.
Stinson.
Okay, thank you.
I entertain a motion for adjournment due to time.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Bolden, properly second by Vice Mayor Mervin for adjournment. Call for question. Hearing none, all in favor? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Bowden,
Yes?
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill, Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Mayor Bowden.
Yes. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
I see. Ms. Atkins.